One of the things that makes video games such a unique art form is the element of player control. Whether it's an RPG or an on-rail shooter, player agency must be considered. And as such, the natural conclusion of this during development is the developers just asking if they want to craft a game that looks at the player and says, hey, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. So with that in mind, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games where everyone can die. Number 10, Ultima 5. Ultima 5 is one of the best examples of a true old-school CRPG, where one screw-up at the wrong point can really mess you up forever. Case in point, the infiltration into Lord Blackthorn's castle. With Blackthorn in the game having taken over all of Britannia and not being a total idiot about it, you learn that Blackthorn is keeping some vital MacGuffins in his personal castle. First-time players proceed to then learn that getting caught is the absolute last thing they want to happen in this situation. Blackthorn, you see, needs your character alive to learn some very powerful and very dangerous magical mantras. But that doesn't mean he needs your friends. So, one by one, he places each of them beneath a guillotine and gives you every chance in the world to give him the mantra. And if you think that if you hold out just a little bit longer, someone might save you, well, sorry, this ain't how Ultima 5 plays out. One by one, if you don't hang over the mantras, all of your friends will die forever. So yeah, maybe take off the hard-soled boots when infiltrating the Dark Lord's castle, eh? Number 9, Hotline Miami 2. Hotline Miami 2 might not have been as tight or as impactful as its predecessor, but you can't fault its ambition. The sequel expanded on the scope of the original game in a big way, telling a story across a larger canvas that jumped between multiple decades. The one thread all of these timelines had in common, though, was that they ended in a particularly nasty way. Hotline Miami has always been a brutal and nihilistic series, and the second game ends with one of the biggest downers in gaming history. After suffering through the trials and tribulation of all of these characters, hoping for at least a happy ending for some of them, it all comes crashing down in a finale that sees the entire world destroyed in a nuclear apocalypse. With political tensions boiling over, the problems of your characters are totally eclipsed by the destructive might of hundreds of atom bombs. As the player, you get to see the final moments of every main player in the story before they're all obliterated in a searing white light. So yeah, don't expect Hotline Miami 3 Threads Edition anytime soon. Number 8, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The bad ending has been a concept teasing at the back of the industry's mind ever since its inception. Sure, there were text adventure games that had you die if you made the wrong decision, but one of the very first examples of the player screwing up and getting the worst possible ending for everyone involved was The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask tells you that in 3 days the moon will fall on Clocktown, killing everyone there and, presumably everyone else because it's a bloody moon. And the game lets you call its bluff on that one, running out of time until the final few hours when the moon does finally come down on everyone's heads and then just kills them all. The most interesting part of this, though, is how the mood of the townsfolk changes depending on how close to landfall the moon is. You wander around Clocktown seeing the townsfolk either go mad from terror at their inevitable doom, or find some solace at the end, or remain in denial right until impact. It's essentially like Lars von Trier's Melancholia, but in kiddie video game form. Number 7, Persona 4. Because of its time-based nature, where every dungeon is on a set time limit for when you can complete it before you get a bad ending, there are a lot of points in the Persona games where a certain number of named characters die who were otherwise meant to live. But the title of this list isn't video games where some people die and others play like, Gex or something. So that leaves just one bad ending out of the bunch, and that's Persona 4's Fog ending. This is the ending you get when you take way too long with the second to last dungeon, where Adachi is bringing the fog down on Inaba and soon the rest of the planet. Failing to stop him in time means the TV and real worlds merge permanently and everyone dies. And just in case you thought the game was joking around with you about how bad the situation actually is, monsters will actually start appearing in the environment as the days wind down. Things just get very ominous, cluing you into the fact that, if you don't do something and do it quick, things are gonna go very wrong. Number 6, Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age Origins tells you on the very back of its box that it's a dark fantasy story, and then spends the next 100 or so hours of gameplay backing that quote up. The game is chock full of myriad different ways to screw over everyone you meet on your journey, including the poor sods who decided to travel with you. Hell, it's to the point where killing them can even seem like a kindness. So how can you go wrong? Well, if you don't get Zevran and Sten's friendship levels high enough, they'll straight up turn on you at the very first opportunity. Try to poison the urn that holds the ashes of the nation's messiah figure, and well, you'll have to kill Leliana first. You could even side with the main human villain and just chop off your best buddy Alistair's head. It is extremely dark. And if you think the dastardly manipulative Major Morrigan is exempt from all of this, well, check out the expansion pack Witch Hunt, and you can actually stab her with a knife if you choose to do so. And if you think this still doesn't quite cover everyone to your liking, another expansion to this game lets you play as the Darkspawn and overwhelm the world completely. Number 5, Fire Emblem Awakening. Frankly, you probably could have put any of the Fire Emblem games on here. Hell, you probably could have made them every slot on this list, seeing how permadeath has always been both the series' defining gimmick and the thing that makes people run a mile. But Awakening in particular serves as a pretty good representation of the series as a whole, so it gets the spotlight here. If you don't know, Fire Emblem is a tactics-based RPG where your party can consist of dozens upon dozens of different characters. To make things interesting then, the series implemented a system that would attract a dedicated hardcore fanbase and scare off literally everyone else. That of course being the unforgiving permadeath that means if a character dies, then that's the end of it. No matter how important they are, if you screw up, the story continues without them. Awakening and games after it gained fame by giving players the option to turn permadeath off, but just looking at the ridiculous number of characters on standby in the easy mode serves as a constant reminder that the game had planned for you to have lost at least a lot of people by then. Number 4, Fallout New Vegas. Bethesda games let you get away with killing a lot of people admittedly, but in Fallout 3, if you kill someone too important, the game will let you, but it'll also tell you that you're now playing a dead save file that you can't progress anymore. And other characters like the Brotherhood of Steel members just shrug bullets off and get back up because they're too important to the overall narrative for you to just kill. By contrast then, when you kill someone too important in Fallout New Vegas, it tells you nothing. You can just do it. The game doesn't care. Like, for real, this is awesome. I think I played through the game about 3 times before I even realized that the Powder Gangers were an actual faction that you could chat to, even if you don't side with them in the tutorial. In every playthrough I did, I just walked up to the prison that they were in and slaughtered them all to take the place for myself. It was truly insane behavior. This freedom means, for instance, that if you want to sneak into Caesar's camp and assassinate the main villain the second you're able to, well, go right ahead. You want to do the same for the leader of the NCR? Well, have fun. What, you're telling me you want to do both and then kill the third option, Mr. House, the Brotherhood of Steel, the followers of the Apocalypse, and every person stupid enough to get in your way? Well, Godspeed to you, I guess, you bloody virtual psychopath. Fallout New Vegas drops you into this world with nothing but the clothes on your back and whatever ridiculous mods that you loaded in with you. And it tells you that the world is your oyster, go off, have fun, have romances, get into friendships, and I guess if that also means reducing this already barren wasteland to a somehow even more barren crater, then yeah, go nuts. Number 3, Until Dawn. It's honestly a little bit shocking that Telltale-style games had been around for almost a decade before someone finally decided to say, hey, this would make for a pretty sick slasher game. Until Dawn was the answer to this, and centers on a group of friends being trapped in the mountains with a pack of very angry, very hungry Wendigos. It's up to the player to decide how many, if indeed any, of our helpless victims make it out alive. And Until Dawn is very much not kidding with this aspect. Anyone can die in this story, and there are multiple death flags for every character that the player needs to watch out for. There are no do-overs if a character dies either, you just gotta keep moving and hope that you save the next one that's in danger. This merciless attitude towards the peril its characters are in makes the game all the more harrowing to play though, as every screw-up feels all the more painful because of it. Number 2, Mass Effect 2. When you have a game whose final mission is literally named the Suicide Mission, you would better have the stones to back that up. Mass Effect 2 starts with Commander Shepard being brought back to life after the bad guys shot him into the cold vacuum of space, with the sole purpose of defeating the Reaper's latest cronies, the Collectors. This requires going into a section of the galaxy that no one has ever returned from, with a single ship and no backup to take on presumably an entire race of highly effective killing machines. So yeah, the odds are not good. As a result, if you don't get your squad shaped up, get the right upgrades for your ship, and choose your tactics wisely when the time comes, you can actually get every member of one of the best RPG casts ever just outright killed. And some of them die in the most horrifying ways imaginable as well. Even player character Shepard dies, missing the jump to their ship to escape. Mass Effect 2 is one of the best RPGs ever made, due almost entirely to its willingness to hold the player's feet to the fire. Number 1, I have no mouth and I must scream. One would struggle to craft anything optimistic out of anything that Harlan Ellison wrote, let alone his best known work, one of, if not the bleakest works in science fiction. I have no mouth and I must scream. So the makers of the game adaptation decided to not even try. In this game, we meet AM, the Allied master computer, which has wiped out pretty much all of the human race, and his favorite playthings, the 5 remaining members of said human race. AM has been viciously torturing them for the past several hundred years, but decides to switch things up. He tells them that if they pass a trial carefully made for each of them, he will grant them the greatest mercy of all, the right to finally die. If they fail, though, he gets to subject them to a fate somehow worse than either death or torture that he had subjected them to for his own amusement. So yeah, no matter how the game ends, it always has the characters dying. Whether by their own hands, finally getting to put AM on ice and set the stage for the human race to repopulate Earth, or being malformed by AM into an ungodly abomination of pain and misery for all eternity. This isn't just a game where everyone can die then, it's a game where everyone will die. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about these video games, and did you get through them with your characters surviving? Let us know, and while you're down there, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.